So I wanted to introduce you to where we are. We are on San Antonio Creek. It's coming down out of the Santa Ynez Mountains up there. And this area created by the creek is a creekside habitat. The scientific name for it is riparian. Riparian. That means creekside, riverside, waterside. So over centuries, the creeks come down, they find creases in the mountains, and they wear out these canyons. And the canyons typically have water in them in the winter. If you're lucky, they still have water in the summer. This year, this creek's going to be flowing for a while. So let's test your knowledge. What is this? Oak. I heard oak. 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 This is a native California live oak. Why is it called a live oak? Are the other oaks dead? No. Why is this one called a live oak? Yeah, there's a live oak music festival. It's named for these trees. It's because these are not evergreen. I mean, these are evergreen. They're not deciduous. They don't lose their leaves in the winter like some other oaks do. So they look like they're alive all the time. So they call them live oaks. They have live oaks in the south too. Different species. But all the oaks, the true oaks, are the genus Quercus. So the way that the Chumash give thanks is they may leave an offering with the plant, or they might sing a song, say a prayer, leave a little of their hair if they don't have something else to leave. It's a symbolic way of acknowledging the plants, asking permission from the plants and the ancestors to harvest, and just showing respect. So I'm going to sing a Chumash welcoming song, but first I'm going to pass around some sacred herbs that I've either harvested or grown myself. And if you would like to partake in this tradition of leaving an offering, you're free to do that. If that doesn't work for you, that's fine. This is entirely voluntary. And the words are, hey, 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 hyung yuwa. Hey, 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 hyung yuwa. Hyung yuwa. There you go. Okay. That's all the words. Then it's just kind of a matter of picking up how it goes. So it's like this. Hey, 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 hyung yuwa. 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 Hey, hyung yuwa. Hey, hyung yuwa. Hey, 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 hyung yuwa. There's another gay tree right here. So the first aid for poison oak exposure is wash. Wash the oil off. If you get to it within 30 minutes, you won't get the rash. After that, you got to use the mugwort. This is called, I didn't tell you what it is yet.
No.
This is called Ceanothus. That's the Latin name. It'll be on your list. The common name is mountain lilac. Is it a lilac?
Yeah.
No. Is it related to lilac? No. The flowers look like lilacs when they open. Does it grow in the mountains? Yes, so that part is true, but it's not a lilac. That's why you need the scientific names. But this particular species of Ceanothus is called green bark Ceanothus. See the bark? From this stage through flowering into the berries, the flowers contain saponins. which are naturally occurring detergent compounds. So, what is your name?
Philip.
Philip, would you pick a few? There's lots of flowers here, so we're just going to pick a few here and there. We're just going to move around the tree and just get a few. It's not going to be an impact. Nobody will notice a month from now that there's 1% less flowers on here. A little more because you have bigger hands. Okay, so I'm just going to pour a little water on there and then you just start rubbing. Yep. And just try to keep the flowers in there. Just however much fits in the palm of your hand, that's how much you need. It's all based on your body size.
Enough to eat off of now.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's very cool.
Wow. Cool.
Wait, this is a picture. Worthy.
It is, huh? I should take one too. Well, first of all, they're not clover. If they were, we couldn't eat them because we can't eat clover. We don't have 4 stomachs to digest clover. This is Oxalis. It's an invasive weed. How do I know it's invasive?
Everywhere.
Look around. This is the best part right here, right? The juicy part down there, okay? Now, this dog poo right here reminds me that there are dogs on this trail. So, you know, our first responsibility is to make sure we're not harming nature, picking things that we shouldn't be picking, that might be the only flowering specimen around, etc. But secondly, we have to watch out for our own health. That's why I carry the foraging water with the 1 drop of Clorox in there. See the little white flower on that?
Yeah.
This is chickweed. It's this very delicate little weed, ground cover. It just grows on the ground. Here, let me get this up there for you. This is Italian thistle. So of course this goes better with your Italian food. That was a joke, but that's okay. Thank you.
Is it in the family of dandelion or no?
No. Well, yes. See, now this is not chickweed. You see how it's different? The leaves come out in a circle around the stem like that. Let me get some, I'll pass this around.
The chickweed leaves were opposite, right?
Yes. This is also edible. You can put it in your salad. It's called Cleavers. It's very distinctive because it has this circle of leaves coming out around the stem. Okay, this is miner's lettuce. This is what the mature leaf looks like, and it has a bud on it. It's going to flower right out of the middle of the leaf. It's not the exact middle, but you get the idea. There's very few plants that flower out of the middle of a big leaf like that. None that I can think of. So miner's lettuce is it. But here's the thing.
Why not this? But I don't know.
If you pick this leaf and eat it, then that plant's not going to flower and not going to make seed and propagate itself. But these are the leaves that come up first. They'll put out like 5 or 6 of these leaves, the basal leaves, the first ones to come out. These aren't the flowering leaves, so you can eat these all you want. It's not going to affect the propagating of the plant. The genus Salvia. And salvia is the root of the word savior, salvation, salve, like a salve that you put on. So it basically means healing. So this is a healing plant. At least that's what the Greeks and Romans called it. And so how did it get that reputation? Well, let's talk about where it comes from. Sage, the reason we're finding it out here in the sun is this is a a plant of the Mediterranean climate. The climate is, what the general weather is like over the course of a year. We have what's called the Mediterranean climate here in Santa Barbara, Ojai. Actually, Santa Barbara has the cool Mediterranean climate. We have the warm Mediterranean climate, but it's still the same. And you have plants that have adapted to having to go for many, many months with no rain. Because in the Mediterranean climate, almost all the rain, like I'd say 95% of the rain happens in December, January, and February. So we're just having a great winter right now. We're having like more than our average rainfall, which is fantastic. Just like our skin puts out oil when it gets hot to protect us from the sun. They put out oils. These oils are aromatic oils, it happens. There's a reason for that too. That's to deter insects. Those oils are called terpenes. So the oils protect the leaves. They kind of hold in the moisture. They repel insects. You rarely ever see any insects eating these black sage leaves. In fact, I can't even think of any. I don't know if I've ever seen insects. I've seen some galls in the leaves, but I've never seen insects eating them. So besides sage, what are some of the other herbs of the Mediterranean? Oregano, marjoram, rosemary, lavender, thyme. My favorite, you haven't mentioned yet. Basil. Thank you. And then all the mints. All kinds of mints, peppermint, spearmint. There's like 100 different varieties of just peppermint. Amazing. And lemon balm, not lemongrass, but lemon balm is in the mint family. So they're all in the mint family. Every one of those that we just mentioned is in the mint family. Then smell your hands.
Cowboy Sage?
One of its common names is cowboy sage. Another common name is old man sage. This is a pain reliever that goes straight through the skin to the pain receptors. Jim can tell you exactly what they are. I think they're transient potential cation channels, I believe is what they are. Anyway, they're pain receptors in the skin. So instead of taking a drug that goes to your brain and then goes to the pain receptors, you go straight to the pain receptors, which go to the brain and then back to the pain receptors and kill the pain. So it doesn't treat what's causing the pain, but it does. Okay, so this is toyon. The berries, you're welcome to try one of these berries, but I'm going to warn you, they're very astringent. You know what that taste is? You know what, have you ever eaten a persimmon that wasn't ripe? You know that feeling in your mouth? That's astringent. Okay. So they're very astringent, they're a little sour, but you can dehydrate them or sun dry them and they come out like this. And
what are these good for?
What are these good for? Good question. Besides being nutritious,
Vitamin C.
having vitamin C, vitamin A, antioxidants. Also, these are the Chumash treatment for senility, for Alzheimer's. So what is it? What does the taste remind you of? Anybody? A cherry, right? Because this is in the rose family, which includes cherries, apricots, peaches, plums, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, almonds, apples, pears. So where would we be without the rose family?
Really? I've never seen one out of the water.
It's an American coot. They have like webbing.
Yeah, that's what I was
You know what
looking
that
at.
is? Pretty rare.
Ringtail?
Yeah, you got it. They're really rare, so See if we can find his tracks.
Yeah, he's got 5 toes up front. At first I thought that was my bobcat, then I go, oh wait, that's he's got 5 toes.
It's still the size. Anyone want to throw out a guess? Not the person who got it right. And these are really cool critters. You never see them. They're really elusive, but they're around and they're successful. And anyone want to make an observation, like count the toes? Lots of them is a really good. They have 5 toes. Now, so when we think of our canines and our felines, they all have 4 toes. But this is actually kind of a weird combination.
Since you said that you
Did someone say possum? No, but that's it's good. You're thinking outside the box. So ringtail, exactly. Left front is on the ground, but your left hind is moving, and then your left foot, the front lifts up, and that left hind goes beyond, and it steps here, and then this repeats itself over here. So you can, young people can practice that.
Trail tracks twisted.
This get up that I'm wearing right now started out as a chest rig, but like everything else I do, it just snowballed into the rest of this stuff. So it's a little bit too bulky. I'm not really digging this right now. So I think on the way home, I'm gonna stop at REI and get a smaller day pack.
go to the water troughs and get a piece of garden hose that we had that was full of sand, drag it all around the water troughs.
Okay.
To smooth it off, and then go back to. We could hardly wait to go next morning to the tracks. We never knew what the hell they were.
I think something's happening here. I think this might be a track right here. It's definitely a nice track right there. But I think these are 2 tracks over here. So if I was going to do my little stick system, these are tracking sticks. I sell them for $20 for 10, a set of 10. Or you can go to the coffee shop and get your own. That's what I did. Got that walk going. Boom, 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 boom. And here the raccoon is, I'm not sure what he's doing here. He could be doing the same pace, or it kind of looks like he's slowing down here. Well, I got to tell you, there is a little bit of a controversy because there's also a worm lion. I think these are, I'm going with ant lions because the worm lions are smaller.
Cobra tracks.
Right there, here, it might be, yeah, he's coming. So do you see this sort of path? People want to make some observations. So first of all, we're looking at, that's perfect where you're standing, because the shade is helpful. Stay right there, my friend. So we got 1 or 2 tracks. 2 tracks, right on, right on. We got 2 tracks here. Remember what I said about the hind foot being smaller than the front foot? So is this the bigger or more narrow? This guy here, is that the larger one or the smaller?
Yeah, it looks.
So this looks like the smaller one? Yeah, you're right.
Deer tracks.
So what's fun to look at is these Dewclaws. Those Dewclaws, they don't always register, but they tell you a lot of information. When they do, they tell you the besides size, they'll tell you that that's a front foot, because the front foot the Dewclaws angle out. And the hind foot, the Dewclaws sort of are more parallel. Two front feet coming down at the same time there, and one of the ideal things to do is look at the difference between the rear foot with the front foot. The rear foot with the front foot. For males, there's a bigger difference because they got that rack. They got the bigger front feet in comparison to their hind feet than the female. So that's one good way to sort of consider it. And then it's just knowing the deer in your area for size. Here isn't necessarily, that's not the same thing as this.
Yeah, I don't think this one's the same as these two. That's the one that was, these two I was looking at.
This could be our coyote.
Right.
I might go with coyote with this, but this is reminding me, that looks like that dog that was over there.
Okay.
So,
yeah, is this because of the rear pad is what you're thinking?
this is a front, but actually the hind actually might have directly registered on here, which is what I think happened.
Okay.
So it's sort of, you've got some extra pushing in here. The hind foot landed right in here, you know.
It's almost there.
And it made it sort of bigger dog-like, but this looks pretty coyote-like to me. It looks a lot like a coyote. Here you got those two little, you can see the little claw marks in the center.
We don't have wild turkeys, but it kind of looks like it.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
And good eye.
Well, we do have wild turkeys, but I've never heard of them down here.
Where are you from?
I live in Ojai. We see them in the east end of
Yeah.
What were you saying about the coyote chasing the rabbit?
Just because we have like a dog or a coyote track nearby, a rabbit track, doesn't mean that there was an interaction with those two. Because what is the evidence showing you?
Deer mice.
But you can see when a coyote is chasing something. There'll be signs, you know. And just because you see a track and a predator and a prey track in the same area doesn't mean that there's any type of interaction.
Walter, why did you take this class?
Oh, just when you're out in nature, the more you know about what's going on around you, the more enjoyable your experiences is. You know, if you can broaden your perspective, it's always a good thing. Keeps you from being too narrow-minded. I figure get me to look at things that I might not have looked at before.
No, I agree.
Yeah, interesting class.
When I'm out on the trails and walking around and I see a track, you know, now it's just a track.
Yeah.
Whereas if you could actually put a name to it, you have a greater appreciation.
Oh yeah, catering truck. Yeah, their tracks are real important to know those.
You're ready for lunch, right?
Yeah, you could tell. Okay, so how's that contraption treating you, Terrence?
I don't like it.
No?
It's too bulky, too cumbersome. We're definitely stopping at REI on the way home, and I'm getting a day pack.
On this one.
Try this one on. So so far. I like it the best as far as color and size.
Sure thing, yeah, man. This is Osprey Stratos 24 pack. It's a great little day bag for any kind of extended day hikes you might be having. Ton of support around the hip belt here, so you have a really great really great support system and frame. So it should make a load prevent it from kind of sinking all into your shoulders. Distribute some of the weight around the hip belt and make it easier more comfortable for all day wear. If we take a look at some of the features we're getting here, we've got a rain cover built into the bottom here. So a couple of smaller zip organization pockets here, and one big main pocket in here. We can load up with stuff here. Hydration compatible. All you do is you'd stick your bladder in there and feed the hose out through there.